Are you ready to learn what red flags keep an eye out for when looking for love?
Then we got you covered. I'm Brianna.
And I'm Alex.
And this is the podcast where we unpack reality TV and call out the bullshit.
So that you show up confidently while dating and in relationships. Welcome to Ditch the Script.
I love it. Hey, good morning.
Buenos dias.
Hello, how are we?
We're good. How are you?
We're trying to answer honestly, but also stay positive. Yeah, good. Tired.
Yeah,
Tired.
100. I feel like I got hit by a bus. My body is like, I need a good rub down. Someone send a masseuse, please.
Yeah, who wants to sign up to rub Alex down?
But not in a sexual way. I'm being for real.
Okay, so we only want
your girl has knots.
Yeah, just professional inquiries only.
Yes, no happy endings. That's not the vibe.
Yeah, we're setting a boundary.
Very strong boundary.
I want that for you. I feel like I'm about to head into a crazy month.
Oh my gosh. So many exciting things, though. Your 31st
a lot of exciting
birthday, traveling, friends.
Yep. Yeah.
It's going to hit you like a hurricane.
Yeah, I might actually get a hurricane.
Yeah.
So what else did I want to say about that? I'm just bracing myself, kind of like the way that my house is trying to brace itself for a hurricane. Because I anticipate that like self-care might be low and I need to make sure it's taken care of.
Got you. Buckle up. You got it. Lock it
Buckle
in.
up, bitch.
Interweave the self-care into like daily to-do shit. That's what I always try to do when I'm really busy.
Ooh.
Yeah. So like sip of coffee, belly breath. Stoplight, belly breath. Like little things like that.
Okay,
I'm on the plane.
I like that.
I'm going to do 5 senses grounding. You know, what can I hear? What can I see?
That's a really good idea.
Just a two cent opinion on something that might help.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I'll pay you. Add it to my tab.
Girl, no. Free services for life. Services, Jesus. Our conversations are basically therapy.
Going back and forth. Yeah, it's good for us though. So you're physically unwell, but we're here. We're alive. We're doing it. We carry on.
Yeah, we're carrying. I'm sitting on my feet because it feels good, the compression, because they just feel so swollen. So I'm just
good.
They're under my thighs, my luscious thighs, getting rubbed out.
Despite the like under construction that you and I both feel, we're also getting ready for Bachelor in Paradise, which starts this week.
Hell yeah. 2 days. Oh my God, I can't. Okay, I'm not a fan. I'm full transparency. I'm not a fan of Jesse Palmer as the host. Like, I've been continuing to watch The Bachelorette, you know, sparingly. And I'm like, can we please have David Spade for BIP? It's so much more fun. I get Jesse Palmer for Bachelor. No, we're definitely not. But that was just, I need to go back and watch that season. It was so great. It was just, he was great.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything about this Bachelorette finale. I do think you should watch it.
Oh, girl, I'm just at the point to where I'm on overnights.
Okay.
So it's about to go down.
Yeah, you're almost there. The last finale. You know what? Sorry, audience. I want you and I to have an off-camera voice note exchange about Tino.
Okay, great. We'll do it.
Yeah. I have thoughts and feelings.
I'll hit
Sorry,
you up.
I don't mean to be an absolute tease on a podcast. I'm like, I have thoughts and feelings, and I'm not going to share any of them. It's just too much to get into.
Okay, we'll talk about it. I'm really excited that like it's something juicy to talk about. I will say this, whenever Brie and I do have side convos, we'll be like, note to self, let's talk about this on the podcast. That does happen occasionally.
Yeah, but you know what's tricky about voice notes is that they disappear unless you save them.
Unless you save them, yeah.
So we're like, yeah, let's talk about this, and then poof.
We forget.
Yeah.
We'll be better about that. We'll make a commitment.
We will be. So next week we start our Bachelor in Paradise coverage. Today, we're just talking about some things that are on our minds.
We're chitty-chatting.
Yeah.
Keeping it chill.
I had a question for you that's in response to the finale. We don't need to know anything about the finale in order for any of us to answer this question, but I'm just curious because it's sort of an offshoot of it.
All right.
How do your personal feelings or personal experiences with cheating affect or influence, rather, how you talk about cheating with others, professionally or non-professionally?
How does it affect it? I mean, okay, wait, let me take a second to like wrap my brain around it, because like how I perceive cheating in my own life is very different than my clients. Like, I very much give permission to my clients that they need to make their decision on what they can and can't forgive, because like there are couples out there who will experience some kind of infidelity, extramarital affair of any kind, and they will repair and be even stronger and more in love than they were before. So it does happen. Will I do that? I don't know. I don't think so. You know, I feel that I'm someone who's been cheated on quite a bit. And which is like, I've sat with that a lot to be like, what about that? How do I enable that in people? Or how do I, you know what I mean? Like, if that is a thing, or am I, again, just like in the past, I've also, let's be real, picked shitty people to be with. But when it comes to what I talk to clients about, I very much give them permission to, can you hear Jack's whining over there? Losing his mind? You can? Hey, Jack.
Yeah. What does he need?
Baby. He wants a W-A-L-K. He wants a longer W-A-L-K. But the door's wide open. He just he doesn't prefer it.
Oh, he knows what he likes.
Yeah. But anyway, the way that I approach it with clients is like, they have to make that decision for themselves. Everyone needs to make their own decisions about what they forgive, what they can tolerate, because everyone's different. You know, we all have our own thresholds. For me personally, and like the way I would handle it is I would leave, most likely. It's just, and again, it's because I think that is so painful for me. And I know what that brings out in me. It brings out more of my crazy. So, and I say that to clients all the time. It's like, we need to give ourselves grace in the fact that a lot of times the worst sides of ourselves are spurned on by context or situations that trigger that within us, not because we are those types of people. You know what I mean? So it's like, for me in the past, when I have been cheated on and I have tried to stay in the relationship or give that person a second chance, I was like way more on edge. I had the temptation to lurk their phone. You know, anytime their phone rang or lit up, I would like want to go look at it, but then feel shame in doing that so that I wouldn't look at it. And it was gnarly. And so knowing that about myself, and how once that trust has been broken, that I become a version of myself that I'm not comfortable with, like, that's enough of an answer for me to not want to continue, you know, with that person. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I like the support and the advice of everyone has to make their own decisions about what they will and will not forgive, because it's such a subjective experience. I think that we can all unanimously agree that cheating is a major betrayal of your relationship contract. And I choose to be really diplomatic when I say that, because you do make an agreement when you are in a relationship with someone. If you have more of an open relationship, that agreement is different. There are different terms, right? Mm-hmm. And even that has its own terms and conditions with its own boundaries that allow for all parties to say, this is what we are okay with, this is what we're not okay with. Same thing goes for a traditional monogamous relationship. So I think you as an individual, you need to be able to say, like, this happened. How does that make me feel? What does that make me want to do? How do I want to deal with that? What does that make me feel about this person that I've been with? Does this feel like a factor of their behavior? that's new or like a pattern. You know what I mean? Like you have to sort of really engage in all parts of that. I think what I appreciate about what you're sharing is that like because you have had personal experiences with being cheated on, it doesn't inform you to say you've been cheated on, dump them.
Right.
Dump them immediately. Because I think that is also a very one ply, stroking a very nuanced situation with one brush.
Yeah.
And I think that's tough.
Yeah, and I also feel like there's very there's very few things where I think we can all say absolutely not. Like we abuse? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, right? And sometimes cheating and abuse are one and the same, especially if it's cyclical. Like, okay, like that's another situation. But when it's like, you know, been this one happenstance and it's something that, you know, someone feels remorse for and truly wants to like reconnect in the relationship and do their part as well, then like we can discuss, you know, what that would look like. But yeah, I'm with you. It's like we don't, just because we've been through something doesn't give us the right to dictate how someone should handle that same situation in their life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Yeah. I want to encourage myself and people to sort of have an understanding of like if cheating is a relevant issue in your relationship, and I hope that this isn't the case, but of course, like we live in reality in which it is. We have to understand that like cheating is not necessarily I'm doing this to you because you, my partner, are not good enough for me. Something is going on in that person's life that is not justifying their cheating behavior, but it is like sort of giving more context to why the behavior would even exist. That can either help you make your decision that this person or this relationship is not healthy for you with that information, or it can help the two of you understand the greater context of a series of issues that have led to infidelity. Infidelity should not ever be the resolution in a relationship issue. Like if we're having problems, classically, it's not like, oh, so I got to go cheat on you to go get my needs met. No, we need to figure out where is it that we're missing meeting each other's needs and how do we go about that differently. But sometimes it's the discovery of infidelity that helps us like should help us to like start those conversations and be like, whoa, where did we go wrong here? A lot of times we need professional support with that because it's going to be a really heated emotional conversation, and it's because of a lot of our attachment issues, all of our walls are going to go up and show up in lots of different ways. It's going to make it really difficult to have those conversations. But I feel like I hear some people talk about infidelity and cheating, and they're just like, because I feel this way, because this has happened to me, you're done. You're out.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. That sometimes is the best solution. And there's nuance to exploring why it happened.
100%. Yeah. Have you been cheated on?
I have, but I don't think that it's been so. Okay, I'm fine to speak on this. What I was going to say is that it feels like degrees removed away from me, and the reason why I feel that way is I only learned that I was cheated on by this person well after we had broken up. I'm talking years.
Oh, got you.
So it was like I wasn't in the mix with this person. This is also sort of informing how I feel about this. I feel like I try to look at infidelity objectively because I haven't felt it in the moment as it's happening in the relationship. So I want to give grace. That's what I'm saying. Like, I want to give grace to the people that feel so strongly about it because of their experiences, and to give them permission to, or rather they should give themselves permission to be like, yeah, if you want to feel that way because you know what it feels like. Yes. Like I'm coming from a place of, maybe naivety to say like, it didn't happen. So like, now I'm like, oh, I can look at it objectively. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 It sucks. It hurts a lot. Like I remember vividly the first time I was cheated on. That's when I mean, I didn't know that this was called that then, but like the first time I experienced relationship anxiety, I found out I was cheated on and immediately threw up. Like it was just like the most intense, visceral, like survival
Yeah.
type, like panic. And that was also the first time I started taking sleeping pills. Because I couldn't sleep. I was like so distraught about it, and it really fucked me up for a while.
Yeah.
You want to know what was weird is like that, because like I didn't know what a sleeping pill was, so I had a parent give me that, like as if that was the answer to my problems, and I'm like, I'm 15, 14 years old, and this is your way of like fixing it instead of having a conversation with me, or maybe being like, yeah, but please don't give your children sleeping pills when they're emotionally distraught. That's not the answer. Hold space for their emotions, please.
Yeah, we need provider support with drugs.
But yeah. So that part of myself, like, she's a lot better now. But man,
That's good.
It was not a fun time.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds awful. I like the only relevant experience that I had was when I think that I was so frustrated when I found out. I was curious. I was like, I'm not surprised that this happened because of what I knew about our relationship on like in its final like weeks and months. But I was just sort of like, I wish we could have talked about it. That's the first thing I felt. And then I
Yeah.
was frustrated that like many years later, I couldn't reach out to this person and
Right.
be like, yo, what the fuck? And also like, why didn't we talk about this? And granted, this person didn't want to talk to me about it for lots of reasons and wanted to just like leave, which fine, fair play. You know what I mean? Like I got a chance to begin moving away from that person in that relationship much sooner. But I was left with a lot of like ambiguity about what the fuck was going on. You know what I
Right.
mean? When I was left, I was like, okay, but these things aren't really adding up. It was once I found out that cheating had happened, I was like, oh,
That
now I get
explains.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's me personally, I think everyone can feel differently about this, but me personally, like I wished I like it was 3 years of me being like very confused about what happened, very confused about like how I was supposed to feel. I was defending this person for a really long time because I thought they're a good person. I still think that they're a good person. I think that their infidelity wasn't a reflection of them being a bad person. I think their infidelity was reflective of them being really avoidant. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I just wish that I knew sooner. But
Yeah.
that I don't know how that would have affected me. Maybe I would have been throwing up and been like hurt beyond belief. You know, there's positives and negatives of either of those
All situations.
realities playing
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. I know for me in that instance, as well as the instance in adulthood of being cheated on repeat with my narcissistic ex, it really forced me to love myself because that's where
Mm.
like for me the relationship anxiety came from was like I needed someone else to make me feel okay about myself in so many ways, like that I was good enough, like I was attractive enough, that I was entertaining enough, that I was sexy enough, that I was, all of those things. And that's why when that betrayal happened, it hurt so intensely because it wasn't necessarily just the cheating that I was struggling with. It was
Mm.
the confirmation that I'm not good enough, because if I was, that wouldn't have
Yeah.
happened, right? Which is
Mm-hmm,
not, and
mm-hmm.
this is why I say when we're healing trauma, we need to look at the core wounds, because really that's what's fueling the cycles of our experiences. And when I started knowing my worth and I stepped into that and I was like, wait a second, their actions and behaviors actually have nothing to do with me and are way more a reflection of, like you said, their avoidance, their incapability to have hard conversations. They are too fearful of hurting you by just breaking up with you, so they do that to force you to break up with them. Like, there's so many different reasons why people reach for cheating, and none of them have anything to do with the person being cheated on.
Yeah.
So, I'm not saying that I'm thankful for being cheated on. That's horseshit. It's one of those things where it was a very painful experience. And at the same time, I can say this is what that experience taught me. And I'm thankful for that in that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. And I think like highlighting that aftercare is really important to be able to process, because it is so easy to assume that it's because of you.
Yeah.
Like you said, for it to spur, it's gonna grab on to all of the insecurities that you are already carrying around. It's just like a human being. And it's going to sort of like reinforce that those things might be true. Not this enough, not pretty enough, not sexy enough, not good in bed enough, not a good enough partner, like whatever it is that you cling to. Those are made up examples that we talk about a lot, but being able to process and say like, those things are my insecurities.
Right.
This person made a choice about this behavior, and this has everything to do with the way that they deal with their problems when it comes to what was going on in this relationship or what was going on for them in their life. Like it, and if it was going to be about these things about me,
yeah,
they really fucking screwed the pooch on how to figure it out with me.
For real. Exactly. And that's something that I'm really starting to realize I value in relationships of all kinds, romantic or friendships. It's the companionship. It's like, I'm in this with you. Like, we got this together. And I really need that. I really value that. Side note, like, I have another thought that's not really related to cheating, but it's related to relationships. And I was thinking about this the other night, and I would love to like open the floor and just have an interesting discussion with you on it.
Let's open the floor.
We're opening it. So I was realizing the other day that I'm handling some things in life much more better than I used to.
Much more better. That's good.
Much more better. And I started to think about like, okay, this really uncomfortable, frustrating thing happened. And instead of me like talking about it and being in my fight response, I'm, chilling over here and more of a window of tolerance type, okay, acceptance, like, all right, it is what it is type vibe. And I'm like, I wonder, I started to kind of analyze like, why am I handling this better now? Because I think this is a huge part of healing, is like when we've been in patterns of behavior before that we don't necessarily like about ourselves, and then all of a sudden we've accomplished the leap that we've desired. I think it's a really good exercise for us to say, well, what did I do differently today? Like, how did I set myself up for success? Was it the walk? Was it the meditation? Was it the breath work? Was it the people I was around? Like, really take an inventory of like, what was different about this circumstance and led me to be able to handle this better. And I had this really profound understanding that there was someone in my life, in my past, that I would talk to every day. And anytime that I would bring up a struggle, their reaction would fuel my struggle more, because instead of holding space in like a neutral way of like, I want to let you unleash your stuff, it came to them reacting, and they're reacting out of sympathizing and empathizing with me, made me feel more of what I was feeling. And it kept me in a state that I didn't like as much. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Yeah.
Oh, I'm picking up.
And so it's like, how can, like, for me, and what I'm starting to really notice is I need to be intentional about who I choose to share certain things about what I'm experiencing, depending on the reaction that I want. Because, and here's what I mean by that. Going to someone because it's like, I'm in my head, maybe I have a thought loop, or maybe I'm like experiencing something in my life that I need someone like a sounding board. Being really intentional about choosing a sounding board that I know is capable of regulating their emotions and holding space for me in a neutral fashion, where they're not going to amplify my internal like fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, whatever I'm feeling even more. Yeah. That's huge. Yeah. And before I was unaware of certain people in my life that would make that more intense. And I just wanted to ask you, like, have you noticed that in your life? Is that something that you've explored, like, thoughts,
Yeah.
ideas.
Well, that's so interesting, and I think that um that's such an important detail to be aware of as you're like navigating how do I seek support? Who do I want to turn to when I seek support for something? Because I think most commonly, this is my assumption, most commonly we go through something and we have like one or two people that we always talk to about everything, right? And kudos to those people. They probably have been really reliable in being able to help support us with everything, or most things, I should say. Supportive with most things, and that means that they're special and they can help be there for us for a lot of different things. But we are all human beings, and we all are we have areas of great strengths and weaknesses when it comes to being able to sit down and have a conversation about where I need support. And I didn't think about that for a long time. I felt like I had one person that I would talk to for absolutely everything. And then I think during the pandemic, things really shifted because I was feeling depressed in a way that I had never felt before for a lot of different reasons. So that's a different podcast episode. And I was finding myself feeling really disappointed talking to the same people. Granted, the early pandemic days, everyone's going through their own stuff as well. But I was having a really hard time coming away from those conversations being like, I don't feel better. I don't feel like I usually do when I come off of some of these conversations, when I like talk to these people usually. Why is that? I was really quick to blame them because I was upset and I was wanting to be validated more than I was. And I happened to be in therapy at the time, which was really useful. And my therapist was just sort of like, one, perspective. Everyone's going through a lot right now. Two, have you thought about like what your needs are before you choose who you're going to talk to about those needs?
Right. Yeah.
And I think it has a lot to do with what you're saying, because if I'm honest, like sometimes I just want for someone to hold space. And then sometimes I want to get fired up, you know?
Right.
Like there's a purpose in feeling like someone's going to validate you and jump right alongside of you in the fucking spaceship that's going to go to Anger Moon.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, personally, sometimes I want that because my struggle is oftentimes I feel that I am too quick to settle my own feelings, opinions about things that I need to actually give myself more space to be upset about.
Gotcha.
Too chilled, need to feel more. So sometimes when I know that I need to be really careful in choosing someone that's going to help me go, no, you can be upset about this. It doesn't just have to be okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then other times I need someone who's going to be like, listen, girl, we got to take a couple steps back from this ledge here. We need to, like that. So I've been thinking about that a lot more lately. And I think it's also a really useful prompt to start checking in with yourself ahead of time before you like blow your top, and also maybe even just totally interrupt someone's day. They're going through their own shit. And you're like, but I need you now. It's like, how about you need yourself a little bit for a little while, and then you see how far you can get, and then you start asking for needs from others.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it, and that's exactly spot on, because it's just like, I would just notice, I would go to this person specifically that there's a few people, but there's one person in my mind that really pops up, because it's like, I would go to them and it would be something like, God, I'm so pissed. I burnt my tongue. Like, this is an example, like, but this is kind of how it felt. Like, I would go to them like, fuck, I burnt my tongue on my cup of coffee. And then it's like, oh no, let me get my bat and we're going to beat up some coffee. It's obviously that's not the exact example, but like, I would be upset about something and then I would go to them and they would like escalate me even more. And it's like, okay, this isn't the vibe.
I'm curious about that. Did you find yourself after those conversations, like you click off the phone, right? Would you find yourself really still riding that wave that the two of you brought yourself too, because it's not just a them thing. It's like the two
No.
of us cultivated this energy, and
Yeah.
I, the one who entered with the problem, brought myself to a new level of frustration and anger. And did you find yourself riding that wave and maybe even making decisions following some of those conversations that, had you processed it differently, would have been different?
So not making decisions or having the behavior that I would participate in that I didn't like would be just icky stuck energy of like ruminating on what happened and feeling some kind of way about it instead of actually processing it and like feeling the feeling to get through it. I would just be so stuck in that like loop of like, you know, whether it's like something like how dare they, or like that's so shitty, why would that happen to me, like, but it was very much that like victim mindset that would pop up for a hot hour, day, rest of the night, like a period of time that I'm not okay with. And I've noticed that since I've had way stricter boundaries, and this has been happening over a span of months, but I started to realize like, wait a second, like my tolerance for uncomfortable and icky things has grown, and like let me take inventory of that. And I've noticed it's because, you know, I'm being way more intentional about who I'm sharing things with. I'm spending way more time with myself to, like you were just saying, like I really need myself right now. Like I don't need to bring this to anyone else because I already know, especially when I would be tempted to like reach out to this specific person to help like talk, just to really vent. It's like, wait, but I know the end result that I always get with that, and it's not going to be the vibe that I want. So actually let me put it down. And I think this is like, it's one of those things where, because like there's nothing, this person's not an awful person, like they're a good friend, they're an amazing friend, but it's just like we need to be careful with, you know, sometimes when our friends come to us and they're super emotional and we continue to validate and like fuel and like feed into that energy, we end up just like, again, really sparking more of the intense emotions than are necessary to actually get us to the end result we want, which isn't the icky emotions. I mean, unless you're like used to being numbed out, which is a thing too, but it's usually to resolve it or like to move through it. So, you know, I think it all comes back to one, having the self-awareness of what do I need right now? Am I feeling my feelings enough? And I want to process my feelings, or am I not feeling my feelings enough? And I need someone to kind of validate that I'm allowed to feel this way. Like, what do you need? And then choose the friend that you know fits that the best, you know?
Yeah. It's a good way to get closer and more familiar with yourself, your intuition. Those gut responses can really help deepen your ability to independently process some things, which can lead to healthier relationships with those friends as well. You know, because let's just use your example for a minute. If you continued to go to this friend for absolutely everything and just got caught in the wave of however they choose to join you, depending on what kind of energy you bring into when you ask for support, as you start to notice, oh, that happens a lot with this person, and you don't do any of the work that you're talking about right now, which is like, maybe I need to assess what my needs are first and then be really choosy about who I go to for how I'm feeling. That helps you preserve that relationship instead of burning yourself out with them.
Oh my gosh, 100%. Yeah, because then we're going to people for their strengths, you know? It's like, and I think that's really where we're hitting home here, is like, we need to understand ourselves and our own needs, and the people closest to us in our lives. It would really behoove us to know, like, know that who they are and how they impact us in those moments, because like you said, we're then fueling their strengths, right, in our weak moments, and vice versa, instead of, like you said, trying to be a one-hit wonder for everything. And that's just, it does nothing but exhaust both parties, because it's like, we all have our own capacities for what we can and what we can do, and what maybe we struggle more with, right? So I don't know, I'm using very vague and broad terminology to kind of paint a very large picture, but hopefully it's landing.
That's where I live.
We're doing some impressionistic art where you kind of got to squint to look at it, figure out what it is, but hopefully it's landing.
I was just thinking about this from the opposite side of things. Like, I'm thinking about what people typically find when they come to me for support in a personal level, not a professional. And then I'm thinking about, I guess I want to tell people that are friends with me or that know me, don't come to me if you don't want to hear me like shed light on like the other perspectives at play.
I love that
Because
about you.
yeah, because I have had some of my friends, I can sense their frustration building when they're coming to me with a thing, and I'm like, yeah, well, people do stuff like this all the time.
Yeah.
Things
And they're like,
things can be
no,
like
tell
this.
me that they're a cunt, please.
Exactly, yo, exactly. So don't get me wrong. Sometimes I can be like, yeah, that bitch is a cunt. But it's also going to be like, and sometimes people are cunts for valid reasons. And maybe they're
Yeah.
going through stuff and we should be cognizant of that. And people are
Yeah.
like, that's not what I came here for.
Yeah.
So it's just,
Yeah.
just thinking.
Something I ask I say this with couples. I honestly, I teach this with couples. When I was working with couples, this is something I would teach, but now I've taken this, and despite being single right now, I use this on myself all the time. I'll be like, Alex, is this a fix it or a feel it moment? Are we fixing this or are we feeling this
Ooh.
right now? Yeah. Cause like I teach that with couples, like if someone, is calling me up or whatever, friendships, this is applicable too, hey girl, before you keep going, is this a fix it moment or a feel it? Like, what do you need from me right now? But can we do that for ourselves? Like,
Totally. Oh my God, totally. I'm glad that you brought this up because I wanted to talk about it because I'm realizing that to ask yourself or to ask the people that you're in every kind of relationship with, is it a fix it or feel it moment is not as common as I thought it was. And so is it a fix it or feel is a very cute and like accessible way to remember that kind of check-in, but it has been known to also be sort of expressed like, are you looking to vent or are you looking for advice? Right.
a resolution.
And
Yeah.
I'm a really big believer that like we shouldn't be giving advice unless we're asked for it. On the other hand, you can have advice sort of building in your brain as you're listening. Check in. I have thoughts. Do you want to hear them? You know what I mean? And not in like a condescending way, but it's like I'm thinking of things, but I don't know if you're looking for solutions. So like,
Right.
how do you feel? Right. So I'm realizing that that's not super common. People are finding themselves in friendships where their friend comes to them for a lot. Like maybe it's a relationship issue and they're single and they're constantly in relationship crisis. Right. And you as the friend who's just wanting to stay in a good place and you want to be there for them and you want to see that they're like okay and you want to make sure that they know that you're there for them. You listen and you spend hours and hours and days and weeks over time supporting them and you give them advice and you try to like tell them what you think that they should do or what you might do if you were in this situation. And then we all know how it feels when your friend just doesn't fucking do any of that. And you're like, what the fuck? They come back to you. They're like, I got hurt. And you resist that urge to say, I told you so,
Right.
And what I want to know, what I want to tell people is that I know that it's tempting to like assert that you were right and you had said something about this and you'd warned your friend about this, but that is actually not an appropriate place to say, I told you so. They're hurting. Now, how do we prevent that? You ask these check-ins. You're like, hey, I know you're upset. What do you need from me right now? Do you want to vent? Do you want to just like get all your gross feelings out and just like let them exist and exit your being? Or do you want some solutions? Because honey, I am ready to go.
Yeah.
We have
Bree
to do that.
always has the solutions, guys. Like she's the best. She's so solution oriented, and I value that in you. Like that's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I vent to you all the time. What? What?
I'm only asking you to pause because I recently connected with a supervisor and she made this same observation to me where I was saying, I was like, I get stuck when sometimes people are like, they can intellectually understand the awareness that we're bringing to the situation that's going on, but they don't want to do anything about it. And she goes, I can tell that you've worked in team spaces before. I can tell that you've been part of leadership group. And I was like, yo, you just read me for filth. And I'm realizing that that's something that I've been conditioned to do from previous jobs, where it's like, hey, if we're talking about problems, let's go. We're leaving here with a solution. That's not always appropriate. So thank you. And it's something that I probably have to work on, you know?
Yeah, but so I want to talk about this because I think so often it's like, oh, I need to work on my solution-oriented self. It's like, no. We're not really fixing or working on the solution side of you. We're improving the venting, space. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yes, I think too often we say I need to work on this. And it's like, wait, no, that's a strength of mine. Let's not belittle the strengths of mine.
You're right.
Yeah, also
you're totally right.
Piggybacking back to the I told you so moments, because I'm that person. I want to be like, motherfucker told you. Where's my goddamn trophy? Yeah, I've been there, and what I have found is you got to give that to yourself. You have to be like, look, I know my truth, and it's like, I know that I'll literally be like, girl, you called it. I pat on the back, girl, you called it. Yeah.
Do it privately.
Exactly. Do it privately. Give it to yourself. Give yourself the pat on the back. Give yourself your own trophy. Go get yourself an ice cream, mani-pedi, whatever. But there is no need to shove that in someone else's face. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Especially at that time when they're like,
oh my. Or ever, because it's just icky. Does it ever feel good when someone tells you, told you so? It's like, no, how old are you? 5? Come on. Yeah. Let's be more emotionally mature about it. And instead of feeling the need to have someone else validate how right we were, let's just validate ourselves and how right we were. Because that's really what we're looking for. It's an I need to be seen wound, right? So it's like, give it to yourself.
Thank you for giving some language to that, because I've been struggling to express or explain why that does feel important. And I want to validate people who feel that urge to say but I was right about this. And it's like, you were. And there's this part of you that really wants the other person to know that you were right. But is that for them or is it for you?
And that's exactly right. So now that we know it's for us, we got to give it to us, 100.
Yeah.
Word.
Okay. We have some rapid fire questions.
We do. You had a question for me that you wanted to ask. Did you already ask?
Oh, the cheating one.
Okay, I didn't know if that was it. Okay, cool. We covered that already. Moving on. Okay, ready? So these are some questions off my TikTok situation, and we're just gonna go through them like freaking we're on a TV show. Oh man, I just thought of Alex Trebek. May he rest in peace, that man.
May he rest in peace.
That's the vibe right now. I feel like we need ding ding music up in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you just gave it to us.
Plinky plunky music. Okay, here we go.
Are
you ready?
I'm ready.
Should you always be the first one to text?
There shouldn't be a rule about someone being first and that one person always being the first one. That shouldn't be a rule. You know what?
Agreed.
No, you know what? I'm holding it. I was going to go off. This is not the rapid fire to go off on a tangent.
Okay, we'll come back. All right. So I agree with Bree. I always call it a tennis match. I'm like, there should be balance. If you're the one always doing the initiating, then I feel like that lends a demonstration to how the dynamic of the relationship would be. So if you're okay always being the one initiating, great. If not, sayonara. On to the next one. Thanks for playing. Next, how can I not be a narcissistic person?
I would love to hear your answer for that.
Give a damn about how you impact other people and hold yourself accountable to the standard that you want to present yourself with. Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
Awareness.
Moving on.
Awareness.
Awareness. What does it mean? Oh my God, I'm dying out. What does it mean when you go out as a couple and all he does is look at other women? Free.
Okay, it means that he finds other women attractive. It does mean that he's a human being, but it also suggests, from my perspective, this is just me,
Right?
Brianna. It does raise the question of, am I being respected that this person is doing this in front of me so obviously while we're in public together? I reserve the right that you are a human being and that you're attracted to other people. So am I. So am I, bitch. But also, I'm going to have respect for you while we're out, that I'm going to try to keep my eyes focused on my own person. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think just bringing it up like, hey, I've noticed or I feel that when we're out, your attention is drawn elsewhere. And I'm curious to know, like, are you just acknowledging the fact that they're an attractive person or like, where's that coming from? Because this is how it's making me feel, right? It's making me feel less than. It's making me feel like you're not fully interested in me. It's making me feel like you might be tempted to look elsewhere if there's something you're not getting in this relationship. That's the conversation that needs to happen.
It's beautiful.
Okay, great. Next. Are two narcissists able to be happy together?
No, I don't think so. Do you?
I feel define happy would be my question for this person because I think that two narcissistic people can be together for a long period of time, but it is going to be a very volatile relationship. So define happy for me there. Because just because it's possible doesn't necessarily mean it's how I would define happy, because I wouldn't define happy that way. So that would be
I don't want to be
my
in
response.
a power struggle. Yeah,
No,
I don't want to be in a power
me
struggle
neither.
for my entire relationship.
I'm trying to find good ones. Ooh, okay, ready? Do you believe that opposites attract?
Yeah, but opposites in which ways? Because I think that we can make a lot work with a lot of different kinds of people, and it's
Me too.
only a small percentage of all of those different kinds of people are going to be people that are just like us. But if our opposites lie in what our values are, probably not. But if like I'm a loud person and they're quiet, we could totally work. If I'm outgoing and they want to stay home, we could still work. If I like reality television and they think that's stupid, well, keep your comments to yourself.
Right. I'm of the same mindset. I think too often people hear opposites attract and think like everything that I love, they hate. And that's just not realistic. I think when I hear opposites attract, I think of hunter-gatherer energies. Like there is going to be one that's way more like it's a different match in energies, also known as masculine, feminine energies, however you want to say it. But that's what I think of, when it comes to opposites attract. That's what makes that connection really magnetic and, this motion, flowy, ebb and flow,
flowy,
push and pull,
ebb and flow. Yeah. I do find that if we feel too similarly on a wide range of situations, I'm thinking of like moments of stress. I need someone who's going to react to stress a little bit differently than I do, because otherwise we'll never get anywhere.
Right. Yeah. Next one. How do I help a friend who's in a trauma bonded relationship?
Ooh, okay. First, you got to ask for permission to express a concern.
Yes.
Ask for permission to express a concern or to like share an observation, and let them know what you notice, and let them know from your perspective. I think it's really helpful to say, when I notice this as your friend, it's really hard for me because, because it's very hard to hear when someone's saying, your relationship is this, and I think that it's like, it's going to put that person's walls up and defend their relationship mode very quickly. What do you think?
I agree. I feel like there isn't much you can do other than exactly that. Like, hey, I've noticed as your friend, this is how it makes me feel. These are my concerns. How do you feel about the situation you're in? I think that's really the best way and only way you can handle it. And other than that, like, I will say this. I think sometimes friends are so focused on, because they can see it from the outside looking in. So it's way more black and white to them than the enmeshed feelings that the person in the trauma bond is going to feel and experience. And so I think too often the friend tries and come at it from a logical angle, and a logical language will not impact an emotional person ever. So we have to we have to almost let go and give more space and just be the quiet onlooker who's ready to catch the friend when the tears coming, you know, like that's really all we can do.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, next one. How do I do self-development routines and stop being toxic? My short answer to this is you just do it. Like, I think so many people are stuck in inaction because they're like, what do I do? What do I do? And it's like, bro, Google's your friend. So are you really at a loss for what to do? Or are you just paralyzed and not taking action and you're just consuming? And this is something that I deal with or see in people all the time, because it's like they keep saying and stating, this also used to be me when I was literally 20 years old. I have a very vivid memory with a friend of mine having this exact conversation. And it was very triggering for me, but he was right. You know, I was so stuck in, look at what's happening to me. This is so fucked up and I don't want it to be this way anymore, but I never did anything about it. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, he finally looked at me and was like, do you want to talk about the problem or do you want to solve it? And I got so angry when he said that to me, but I'll never forget it. And now, you know, years later, I'm like, thank you. And it's one of the most profound moments in my life. He probably doesn't even remember it, but it's the truth, you know?
Yeah.
How do I start doing self-development work? You do it. Go pick up a book, go Google something, go find a coach or a therapist that resonates with you and implement what they teach. If that doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean everything doesn't work. It means you need to find a different practitioner, a different book that resonates with you, and you keep going, you know?
Yeah.
I've purchased plenty of books and tried things that haven't worked for my system. That's okay. That doesn't mean that person is, you know, like irrelevant or like it just doesn't work. It means that I need to find something else, you know? So
yes, agreed.
That's my answer.
It's a good one. I thought that was really wonderful. I think that people struggle with that a lot. I have definitely struggled with that in different periods of my life. What I tell myself a lot and what I tell some of my clients a lot is that when you are looking to adopt any new practice, hobby, a different like feature of routine, starting a routine in general, focus in on one or two different behavioral changes. So whether that's introducing a skincare thing or trying to exercise more frequently, you know, keep it small. Don't try to be a totally different version of yourself in a week's time. That is going to it's going to double down on your like change paralysis, right? Yeah. So instead, identify one of those two things and get really familiar with what it would feel like to incorporate that into your life. Really imagine what would have to change in order to help it become a fixture of your life. And then you want to get really familiar with, why would this be good for me? Not the prescriptive, it's going to make me sleep better, I'm going to look different. No. What about it that you think that you'll actually really enjoy? How is it going to feel good to you, not to other people when you tell them that you're doing this, to you? And if you can attach a relationship, if you can form a relationship with the most positive and motivating feature of that behavioral change, that will incentivize you to do it more. You'll have more success in incorporating this new change in your life, and then the benefits will come with it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, last one. Ready? How to control jealousy, possessiveness, and insecurities. It's a loaded one.
Okay, let's read this again. How do you control jealousy, possessiveness, and insecurities?
Insecurities is the root cause.
Yeah.
So let's just tackle that one first, because the rest will be domino effect. You know, look at what triggers your jealousy and your possessiveness. I say this all the time. I'm like, look, human beings are animals. I think the faster we can just accept the fact that we're not that much different than the domesticated dogs we have, other than the fact that we have this smart ass brain, which usually gets in the way of our healing journey. We're not that much different. Okay. And so for us being possessive over our territory, just like dogs wanting to piss on a bush to mark it, we have that innate nature in us, right? We have to teach children how to share. It's not a skill that we come out of the womb necessarily and we're like, here, take all my toys, right? So it's like we're a species that likes to have our space, our items. This belongs to me. And we need to keep that in check. So when it comes to relationships, when you are dealing with some possessiveness or jealousy that's coming up, my question for you is, what spurns that on? Is it because you're insecure around the fact that you're not good enough, that your partner's going to leave you for someone else when they meet someone at a coffee shop? Are you freaking out because, you know, someone else feels sexier than you in some outfit, so you want to like claim that outfit and tell your friend she can't ever borrow that dress again? Like, I don't know, you need to take the time to like sit down and just look for what actions, environments, and people are causing the jealousy and possessiveness, and then track that and say, what about this is making me feel insecure? And the behavior that's masking the insecurity is the jealousy. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, if we 100%. Can fix the insecurity of how you feel about yourself, you'll be able to manage the jealousy more. It doesn't mean that feeling isn't gonna come up, because like I said, as the species we are, it's natural for us to have some jealousy and possessiveness, but it doesn't need to take control of how we interact with people and our energy that we carry throughout the day. So the root cause is the insecurity. Figure out what that is, heal it, and the rest will start to, like I said, domino effect. You?
Yeah, it's a beautiful answer. It's always so hard for me to tackle this because
you're like, I need clarifying questions.
Well, no, not even that, but yes. I mean, it's not a problem that can be fixed overnight, and it's not a problem that you can answer really quickly. As like the way that you just answered that is as succinct as we can get. You know, I think it's tough. While I am a person that has insecurities, it doesn't manifest in jealousy, so it's really hard for me to like tap into that brain, that thought process. But what I would say is, just to piggyback off of what you're saying, is there are insecurities that are that you are feeling threatened by, right? So like jealousy makes you feel threatened. So it's like, what parts of you is feeling threatened when you imagine something that makes you jealous, or a situation that jealousy comes up as a feeling? Which parts of you are threatened? Is it that you feel threatened that you're not as attractive, or you're threatened that like you're going to be left, or threatened that you're not seen as a partner that this person is going to want to stick around for? Like, you have to get really, really familiar with those things, and also recognize that like reserving the right to assume that your partner is not intentionally trying to make you jealous could be a different problem. These things have everything to do with how you feel about yourself. And your partner is probably maybe just being friendly, or maybe just being social, or trying to keep up with the relationships that they have in their lives. Those relationships need nurturing, but they make you feel jealous because of your stuff.
Yeah.
You got to get familiar with that stuff is.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, that's it for our rapid fire today. Woo!
Bing, bang, bong. That's my closing noise. Bing, bang, bong.
Bing, bang, bong. Okay, cool. So next week, y'all, get ready. We're going to Paradise. We're going to Paradise.
We're going to Mexico. We're going to an island.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So stay tuned. Check us out next week. We'll be covering the first week of Bachelor in Paradise, which starts this Tuesday, the 27th. Am I right on that?
You got it.
All right.
Right on target.
Word. So watch with us, join us. If you have any questions, let us know. You can go to our website, ditchthescriptpod.com, submit your questions, or if you want a free 30-minute sesh with us, you can go to ditchthescriptpod.com/podcast and apply there. Other than that, make sure you give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok at ditchthescriptpod. And again, if you are listening and you are liking what you're hearing, then please leave us a rating and review. Snap a photo or screenshot of the episode. Tag us on the gram at Ditch the Script Pod. We love to see it. That's it. Wishing you all light and love. Pieces.
Pieces.